Brendan and his friends Jason and Melissa film a movie about a renegade police officer. Dark Side of the Law.
A-cab.
Hello and welcome to Rewatching Home Movies, a weekly watch-along podcast where three friends break down the 1999 animated series Home Movies. My name is Tim and I'm obsessed with home movies.
My name's Adele, and I'm a home movies newbie.
My name's Marcin, and I've never seen home movies.
Let's jump into the history of home movies, shall we? There's a lot of stuff here I didn't know. I've seen every episode of home movies probably 5-6 times, and then not to mention the hours I spend like prepping these episodes.
Oh yeah, you put the work in. I've done a lot of podcasts. This is the first time where I wasn't the one putting all of the work in, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I just need you guys to show up and watch home movies with me. This has all just been a ploy to get two people to watch the show with me.
I've done worse.
Yeah. So Home Movies was created in 1999 by Lauren Bouchard and Brendan Small, and it follows the 8-year-old character of Brendan Small. Even though the main writer, creator, Brendan Small, the main character, Brendan Small, very semi-autobiographical, okay? Brendan Small, the character, is an 8-year-old aspiring filmmaker who enlists the help of his friends Jason and Melissa as they create amateur movies in Brendan's basement. Living with his divorced mom, Paula, and his adopted little sister, Josie, Brendan oftentimes struggles with his lack of a positive male role model in his life, and unfortunately, that role will oftentimes fall onto the shoulders of his alcoholic soccer coach, Coach John McGurk.
How do you spell that?
McGurk the jerk.
Big M, little C, big G, U-I-R-K.
You can't really hear the Mick in that. You just McGurk. You really skip over that C.
So, as DJ mentioned before, it did air on Adult Swim for 4 seasons, but Home Movies originally aired for 5 episodes on the now defunct TV station UPN. I remember when I mentioned that to DJ, he's like, I don't know what that.
Yeah,
I don't know what UPN is.
Way back in the day, UPN was another channel. If I recall, it would be like on your basic channels you can pick up with like rabbit ears.
Oh, like MeTV?
2, 5, 7. And in this area, I mean, I can't speak for everyone. I believe around here, UPN was like channel 50. They played a lot of reruns of stuff, but they did have what they tried to get like more adult animated cartoons. They did originally air Dilbert.
Ooh, that makes sense.
Yes. So UPN approached Lauren and Brendan and asked them to create a family comedy. And by that, they meant a comedy that would appeal to families, but is also about a family.
And they said, here's $5. Let us see.
Basically, yes. Unfortunately, the ratings on UPN were trash. They had a representative for UPN who was kind of their, the guy that they went to. And he told them straight up that if he even joked with them about them getting picked up for more episodes, he would immediately be fired. Like UPN hated this show.
But they only had 5 episodes.
They picked it up for 5. That was it.
Okay, but how many episodes are actually in the first season?
Every season is 13 episodes, yeah, because it's 4 seasons, 52 episodes total.
So did they just make more episodes past that, or did they get... You go ahead. It looks like you have more to say.
I do. It's all on this iPad here. So again, the ratings were absolutely terrible. One person who did catch the show on UPN, though, was a woman by the name of Khaki Jones. Khaki Jones, I'm just going to quick side note. I looked up her credentials. Khaki Jones was a production manager on the following cartoons, okay? She was production manager on Cow and Chicken, I Am Weasel, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, What a Cartoon, The Venture Brothers, Dexter's Laboratory, Harvey Birdman, Johnny Bravo, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Codename Kids Next Door, and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Classics.
OGs.
Yep.
So she saw it when it originally aired on UPN, and she felt deep down that there was something there. 2 years later, she was brought in to help set the lineup for an experimental block of adult animation called Adult Swim. she reached out to Lauren and Brendan and ordered the remainder of a season, so to round it out to 13 episodes. And Home Movies aired on the very first Adult Swim block, which was September 2nd, 2001. That was the very first time Home Movie or Adult Swim in general aired, and Home Movies was part of that original block.
You know what else happened that month?
I was gonna say
My birthday.
Oh, yeah.
And then what happened 2 days after that?
Oh, nothing significant.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
They were probably on cloud nine. They're like, this is where my life begins. And then, sadly, I was gonna say on that UPN block you said Dilbert. What other shows were on that? I'm trying to like gauge the type of vibe they were going for.
I don't know if Dilbert was on that block. I do remember though when I looked up UPN, the wiki for it, and it had broken down like what other, I guess, adult animations they had. Dilbert from 99 to 2000, a show called Game Over in 2004, and then a show called Gary and Mike in 2001.
Doesn't seem like they have much. I don't know why they're complaining.
No, they really didn't. So basically what happened was the WB was a network and UPN was a network. They both got bought out and then turned into what they were hoping would be a super network called the CW, which is also a now defunct TV station.
I mean, not really. CW is still happening. Isn't it just the channel? It has The Flash and it has all of those, like, I'm not going to say bad, but superhero shows that are on there.
That might be.
Supernatural's on that
CW.
too.
Yeah, I don't watch any of that stuff. So
I don't either. Riverdale really, it's that vibe of like teenage.
High schoolers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, now that you say Riverdale, I'm like, yeah, that was a CW thing.
Yeah, which makes sense. I don't think UPN had a real creative conscience to what they wanted to do with their show. It just seems like they disagreed with the way the show looks.
So the funny thing is UPN originally, America's Next Top Model aired on UPN 2003 to 2006. Brittany and Kevin's Chaotic. Iron Chef USA aired 1 year on UPN. Wrestling aired for a little while on UPN. The XFL for a year ran on UPN. So after Home Movies came to Adult Swim, the voice of the mom was done by Paula Poundstone. Paula Poundstone got into a little bit of trouble right around October 2001. She got a DUI with her kids in the car. So she got into a bit of trouble. But after the fans call them the UPN 5, the original 5 episodes on UPN, Paula Poundstone contacted Lauren Bouchard and said that her fan base watched the show, didn't really care for it, and she asked to not be part of the Adult Swim version of the show.
They recasted her?
Yes, she was recast by a female comic, and she was a writer on Conan. She's done a lot of stuff. Her name is Janine DeTulio.
Janine McQueen.
Janine DeTulio, she does the voice of Paula Small from episode 6 until the end.
That is wild. I don't know how you felt about her, because I actually found her delivery very funny.
Yeah.
Right. Getting into that, Home Movies utilized a ton of comedians as voice actors, right? And they did a thing called retro scripting, which is the technique of preparing a loose plot, but giving the voice actors pretty much full reign to improvise as much as they want. Paula Poundstone as Paula Small in the first 5 episodes was 100% retro scripted. She pretty much improv'd a majority of her lines. She was just that good of a comedian,
Nice.
which is why her lines, came off the way they did.
I actually meant to tell you, like 2 years ago, at that very PTA meeting, I was way uncomfortable with it. Like, that was my favorite line of this episode.
I think that's why she has a lot of scenes where she's like on the phone or, because that they just let her go to town. So Home Movies did find some success on Adult Swim, and then an almost cult-like following with the DVD releases, which was kind of the thing back then. I mean, Family Guy got renewed for a new season just based on how well the DVDs kind of popped off. Clips of Home Movies and memes and stuff like that would constantly pop up, almost exclusively featuring Coach McGurk, who, in my opinion, has kind of a quotable line every single episode. Again, they use a lot of comedians. Brendan Small himself is a comedian. H. John Benjamin, who does the voice of Coach McGurk. Ronald Lynch who plays his teacher, Mr. Lynch. We'll see in episode 2. But Jonathan Katz does the voice of Melissa's father. Laura Silverman, Jen Kirkman, Mitch Hedberg, Andy Kindler.
Mitch Hedberg?
Mitch Hedberg is in a couple episodes. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn.
He wasn't in this one. We will definitely. Same with Andy Kindler. He's in it in later episodes. So Paula Poundstone, like I said, she did get into some trouble in the early 2000s. So that's kind of okay that, she decided not to be part of the show moving forward. They did for approximately 5 episodes. The voice of Brendan Small's dad is voiced by Louis C.K.
Oh, cool.
Wait, what? Wait. Wait, who?
Louis C.K.
No, but like, who does he play?
Brendan's dad.
Good casting.
Yeah.
It seems that way.
So it's only like 5 or 6 episodes, but yeah. And that was actually something that I had seen the episodes multiple times before I caught it in the credits. Like, oh shit, that's Louis C.K.
That was one of my questions about his dad, because she mentions about him being divorced. So that obviously comes into the story.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, not until later, but for the time being, we assumed he's just, for whatever reason, estranged from his father.
Okay.
Okay. Although a lot of people do not care for the animation style in season 1 deemed squiggle vision. Funny enough, I listened to the first episode had comment. Not every episode has commentary, but the first episode did. And Brendan Small himself is like, this is ugly. He said that he hated squiggle vision. It gives him a headache. You'll be happy to know the style was ditched after the first season, and they started using Flash to do the animation.
Ah, Johnny Test.
I was worried that the squiggle vision was going to be like too distracting. I didn't even notice it half the time.
I barely notice it anymore because I've seen these episodes so many times.
I mean, the thing is, I really love Ed and Eddie, and that has like a base of squiggle vision. You can definitely tell, and I love Ed and Eddie. So watching this, and I don't know why this is so different. Maybe it's because of like there's a simpler way to do it. But Ed and Eddie came back. I don't know, like that was around the same time. That was like
a little bit after, yeah.
Yeah, so I just don't know why Ed and Eddie's doesn't bother me. This, oh man, it bothers me. Like, just everything's happening all at the same time. Everything's going on. Like, they're all just, there's so many different cuts, and everybody's talking over each other, and there's 6 different scenes happening.
Season 1 especially, yeah. So you made a comment about the animation budget being about $5, which I don't think you're too far off on that.
One eyebrow.
Yeah, the animation style's super simple because very cheap budget. Yeah, Dr. Katz was a show that happened before this that used the same animation style, a lot of the same voice actors, stuff like that. Kind of makes sense. I believe that's the animation style Tom Snyder was kind of attached to, and he was a writer for season 1. So.
Well, I mean, I don't like making references to Family Guy, but do you remember the Family Guy joke they did about Dr. Katz? That Peter was being therapized by Dr. Katz, and then at one he's like, what's going on with your skin? He's like, I believe I'm having a seizure.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah,
they're kind of poking fun at that squiggle vision.
Yeah, and I think that was the first time I saw something like that happen where they actually referenced it. I'm like, yeah, okay, so I'm not the only one thinking that this is... I didn't understand how art and different styles of cartoons work, so I was like, this is hard to look at.
Yeah, I think it was just a cheap animation version, for the time. Any other thoughts, first impressions you want to talk about before we kind of deep dive into this episode?
Well, I was just going to say one of the things, I think we mentioned it a little bit, but beforehand, when we were building up to this, I hated this show. I always hated this show. I thought it was so disgusting. And real quick, I think I blocked it out of my mind. There's Brendan, Melissa, and who's the third one?
Jason.
I hate Jason. I hate him so much.
Oh, poor Jason.
Like, just don't. Okay. I quoted him actually. People hate me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like every friend group had a Jason.
Yeah.
The kind of gross one,
sure.
kind of,
There were a lot of good quotes in this first episode.
For sure.
Do you have a quote off the top of your head?
Oh, just I really liked I've been crying.
I
so relatable, yeah.
I think one of my top quotes, I did note it in the scene. One of my favorite quotes from the episode is when Coach shows up for the date at Brendan's house, and Brendan is just fucking with him. And he's like, yeah, it's really cool. You get like a built-in family. Like, oh, who's that kid? I don't know. Yours now. Like that, just the way he says it. Okay. So let's take a little pause. I'm going to fix some technical issues, and then we'll just dive into it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. I would, the line that you were just talking about, like, I've been crying. Like, I love that line so
Yeah.
I was crying. That one made me laugh so hard.
The other one when Melissa's dad was saying how he's likes, was it Brendan? Brendan's
Earlier work.
yeah. And then Brendan's like, which one was your favorite? That one, I watched this episode how many weeks ago, and that was one of my first notes, was that it reminded me so much of DJ. Of just being like, which one was your favorite?
Well, let me add the way that I'm looking through the lens of this show, the way that I'm jumping in it is like, as a guy who is a kid who grew up trying to make home movies, and there was a lot of movies that I tried making with all my friends who clearly didn't want to watch it or didn't want to make it, didn't want to do anything about it. I had a lost film called Eggheads where it was Easter and we all colored eggs and we like had hangers and we were like doing their voices behind the camera. So when I was watching that, I'm seeing myself in that. I was like, which one was your favorite? And especially because when I was doing Puzzle Valley and you guys would like message me like, oh yeah, we just finished the episode. I'm like, so,
what was your favorite part?
Out of those 4 hours, could you give me like 10 moments that you really enjoyed?
Do you have access to any of those old home movies that you made as a kid?
I have access to at least one. There's some on YouTube that I don't know what YouTube channel it is. I'd have to be a really good YouTuber to find. There's one I have, and I hate it, and it's the Egghead. It's one of the Eggheads. It's actually... I tried to recreate the magic of Eggheads. Oh, that was my favorite, my second favorite line. Dark Side of the Law 2. You thought this was the last of the films with this title.
Classic. So I wasn't making home movies kid. I was a radio station and like audio. My brother had a talk boy, and we would do audio versions of us just like chasing our friends around the neighborhood. So like a cops like show.
That's so funny.
And then like the radio shows. I was at, but we never made actual home movies like this. But I feel like anyone who's done anything creative is gonna watch this show in some aspect of it. They're gonna be like, oh my god, yes, this is so relatable.
That's so wild because like Brendan reminds me so much of Jack, who's my older brother, because he would make home movies when we were kids. There's so many home movies starring me and only me while he's the director.
Could you bring him in for an episode, but we'll watch all the home movies?
Honestly, if I could convince him, I could see him coming in for like later seasons down the road. But back to what you said about the talk boy, Jack also had a talk boy, and we did a radio station on his talk boy called WPIG, the pig.
Oink, 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 oink.
I really loved. I was actually going to ask you about Jack because he was like a home movies guy.
Yeah.
So I brought up at Christmas, I was like, Jack, are you familiar with this show Home Movies? Because by that time we had talked about doing the podcast.
Yeah.
And I knew, Jack was into that kind of stuff. And I'm like, he might like this. And Jack was like, oh, no, I'm not familiar.
We were sheltered kids. We didn't get to watch
he's
anything.
like, oh, yeah. And his wife almost to me is like, oh, is that a cartoon for adults? And I'm like, yeah, it is. She's like, I hate those. All of those.
She hates Bob's Burgers. I was like, I cannot relate to you.
Yeah. It's a very wide net to cast on because there is some adult, like that Brickleberry show. I tried to watch an episode. I'm like, oh, this is just bad.
Oh, yeah. No,
it's just bad.
Well, that's the thing. It's like adult animation. A lot of people write it off because they think Family Guy. They think American Dad.
Yep.
And I've heard people say American Dad's great. I don't like American Dad. But they make it look ugly. Like that Netflix show Q Force that was like Queer Force or whatever.
I never saw that.
It was so gross. And a lot of my queer friends were talking about how gross it is. And I don't know. It's just this weird thing with adult animation specifically where you have to make the animation seem gross or bad in a way because it's like ironic. We're adults making animated cartoons, and
I like adult animations when it's like adult because the messages and the topics are like heavy. That's like the adult animation that I fucking love. It's like, oh, this guy gets his head cut off just because we can because it's animation. It's like, all right, cool.
Have you guys seen Nimona?
Yes, yeah, it's really good.
Loved Nimona.
It was so good. Yeah.
And it has like these dark topics. It was talking about capitalism, it was talking about propaganda, it was talking about like the way that we create monsters out of these people that we think are different.
Yeah. That's what we watched it together.
Yeah.
The reason it came on my radar is I was watching something about like different animation styles. And just seeing scenes of that, I was like, oh, I'm in love with the style of animation they're choosing to kind of do with this.
Exactly. And that's my only thing. Again, I just don't like when people write things off. There's so many different, especially in Nimona. It's for kids, but it has such a great story, and it's beautiful. It makes you feel something. It's art, and I love art.
I personally would liken it to like someone who says like, oh, all this genre of music is bad. And it's like, no, you can dislike a genre, but there's still going to be one or two bangers in there that will appeal to you, whether you like the genre or not. So it's really not fair to say, well, all adult animation is bad or all whatever is bad.
Yeah.
But
I mean, just to add one more thing on that, I hate sports, but I will cry at the Field of Dreams every single time. I don't like sports, but I'll cry at Field of Dreams. You give me a good sports movie where everyone's being whimsical on the field, I'm like, oh, I'm into it. I'm into it, baby.
It makes me almost want to watch sports.
almost. Well, would you guys like to dive into season 1, episode 1 of Home
Absolutely.
Movies?
Yes.
Let's do it. Home Movies, season 1, episode 1.
Let's
part
watch
of
it
the
again.
Splash.
UPN 5, titled Get Away From My Mom. Original air date, April 26th, 1999 on UPN. Written by Brendan Small, Lauren Bouchard, H. John Benjamin, Paula Poundstone, Melissa Barton Golsky, and directed by Lauren Bouchard. Oh, Tom Snyder was also one of the writers. So when you do retro scripting and you let all of your actors essentially improvise their lines, you now have 77 writers on every single episode. 'Cause basically, if you talked, you are a writer now.
Nice.
But no, I know a majority of the writing, Brendan Small, Lauren Bouchard, and Tom Snyder had a huge part with, and then, the retro scripting of everyone else.
I just want to add about the retro scripting is because I wrote this down in my notes, and I'm not sure if this is just because this is the cartoon that I recognize or the way that it's styled, but it was very Rick and Morty to me. It was just them like vamping off of each other, like a lot of Rick and Morty in the beginning.
Right.
It was just them saying what like wubba wubba dub dub. Let me just say some wild stuff. But this stuff seemed a lot more grounded in reality instead of just some guy going on a bender in a voice
Right.
booth.
Yeah, they use a lot of, very funny, it's that dry humor that I like. Lines that are put in there that you're like, man, that's funny, but it's delivered so dryly that you almost miss it the first time. That's what I really like about home movies. But there's a very distinct point, and I'll point it out when we get there, that it goes from very heavily retro scripted to almost completely scripted. And that's when I think home movies really shines, because the ability to interweave storylines and, tell a story is, I think, just so phenomenal. So
Just real quick, just as like, do you think that do you prefer it when it was retro scripted or scripted as an expert of the show?
Me personally, so the other thing about home movies that I forgot to mention in the deep dive was when they were on Adult Swim, they were pretty much told when they started creating season 4, this is your last season. After this, you are done. So I think you can kind of see that in season 4, because they're like, let's go big or go home, basically.
I'm excited.
So the stories, everything got way, way like times 100. Personally, I like the later seasons. I enjoy, one of the things I loved about doing this podcast, these UPN 5 and the first season, for the most part, is probably my least watched season. Seasons 2 and 3, I watched so much. Season 4, I love as well. But these older ones, and maybe it's because I know how tight it gets later on, I still love every episode of home movies. I will tell you straight up, every episode is my favorite episode. But I don't tend to go back to these earlier episodes as much as I do like season 2, 3, and even 4. Yeah, I'm excited. I want you guys to witness the evolution of this show, because episode 1 and episode 52 are so completely different, and not just the animation style, but the vibes. Any show, everybody's comfortable now. They've worked with each other for years. They bounce off each other well. So it's just, I think, tighter, as it goes.
Yeah, and that was one of the things of like, I wrote it off completely when I first started it because I thought it was ugly. I didn't like it. And then it's a weird thing that happens when you make something that is really ugly and bad at first and then evolves into it. Then you just kind of garner a little bit of respect for everything else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have a question for DJ. Now that you've seen the first episode in full, like, has that changed any of your perspective of just kind of seeing it in passing?
Yeah, I think if I saw less Jason, I would like it a lot more. I'm not even trying to do it for a bit. Anytime Jason was on screen, I wanted him off, just like so quick. He was.
Yeah. And I think that's another example too of, I'm very excited to see what your opinion of Jason is going to be once we're done with the show.
Yeah, because
I really want you to fall in love with Jason.
I hate him so fucking
much. I know, but
I
I would just love the narrative of like, as time goes on, you slowly just start to love him.
And oh God. I want you to watch The Bear so bad, but that's not what this podcast is about. But
not yet.
Whenever I was a kid and I would switch over, and I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just by chance. Maybe it was God saying you're not ready for the show. But like it was Jason was on the screen and he was doing something gross, and I was like, ew, get him out of here.
And that is, I think, very much reflective of H. John Benjamin, who voices both Coach McGurk and Jason.
That makes sense.
And when I watch commentary too, H. John Benjamin loves to be fucking gross. He even admits in the first couple episodes that he tried to be as gross as possible with Jason because, and we'll actually get into it in just a second here, they didn't know H. John Benjamin was going to be such a staple to the show. So let me do this. I'm going to read the synopsis of season 1, episode 1, Get Away From My Mom. And this is pulled straight from the Home Movies fandom wiki. Everything after that will be me personally breaking down the episode. But the synopsis as per the Home Movies fandom wiki is, in this episode, 8-year-old Brendan Small discovers that his mother, Paula, is said to have a date with Brendan's soccer coach, the lazy and profane alcoholic Coach McGurk. Brendan resents McGurk for this and expresses his outrage throughout the episode. The date goes terribly, and McGurk and Paula decide not to pursue a relationship. Meanwhile, Brendan and his friends, Jason and Melissa, film a movie about a renegade police officer. Dark Side of the Law.
I think I'm
gonna... I wrote that in my notes.
Hell yeah. I'm going to keep a track of every time that there's the titles of every one of his home movies. I'm going to put it in my notes.
Nice.
I'm going to try to keep track of all of them because Dark Side of the Law was very fun. The second he said that, I was like, that's something I would have wrote as a kid.
And that's the thing I also love about home movies is for the most part, every single episode has some kind of either movie or something that they're, project they're working on. And they just get more referential as in pop culture and stuff like that. So it's very interesting to see they get very spoofy as they go on. They spoof a lot. So I'm excited. So a little trivia about this episode. The very first day of recording was the very first day that Brendan Small and H. John Benjamin ever met. Like, period. They did not know each other before they started
Meet cute
recording. They planned on having Coach on for just one episode. Basically, the synopsis, what they thought for episode 1 was Paula was going to go on a date with Brendan's teacher. They thought, oh, I don't know, teacher, that might be a little too close. Let's make it like a gym teacher. No, screw that. Let's make it a soccer coach. Okay, so he was literally just going to be a fill-in for the jerk that dated Brendan's mom in episode 1. But they had such great chemistry. I mean, both the character of Brendan Small and the actual person that McGurk became a series regular. Like, obviously. And that's also why we'll see in future episodes, Brendan and Coach get along very well. This episode is just because of the situation. Like, you would never hear Brendan in later episodes refer to him as McGurk the jerk. Like, they are very friendly, so. When
you said he was like fucking with him the second he walked in the door, I didn't get that energy. I was like, listening to him, I was like, this kid really wants a dad? Like, that's what I took from this kid really wants a dad. I didn't think it was sarcastic. He was like, no, come on, this is your family now. Whose baby is this? It's yours. Come on.
Well, maybe a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
A little both.
Who knows? So along the same lines, Melissa Barton, I think it's Galsky, maybe it's Galsky, it's Galsky. She was originally a talent scout for Jonathan Katz and his show, Dr. Katz. She would just go to comedy clubs, look for comedians to have on the show. So she originally just read with Brendan, like as an audition, and they had such great chemistry as well that they brought her on and she became a series regular. So yeah, both Coach and Jason, Melissa, they had no idea because of the retro scripting and the way the show was. They just ran lines and just got along so well that they're like, you know what, you're part of the show. It's kind of like Phyllis on The Office.
Yeah.
She was not an actress. She would help Allison. Oh, shoot, I forgot her name, but she was the main casting director. She would help her, cast shows. They just loved her so much that they're like, we want to write a character of Phyllis.
Real quick, you have you seen The Office?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen The Office.
Never.
I've never seen The Office. And
Season 2.
Is that on purpose?
There's a couple things. Teresa made me watch the first 2 episodes at one point when we had a sleepover, and we were watching like Steven Universe Future, and I finished that, and then she showed me the first 2 episodes. And I find it funny. I hate Steve Carell. Everyone says you hate him in the first season.
Yeah,
that's fine. And this is going to sound very petty of me, but I really don't like The Office because of everything that it did to television after that because everything was mockumentaries after
Yeah.
that. Everything was like, Parks and Rec. You had The Office, and then it turned into just everything had to be that. And I don't like shows that get so popular that studios go, everything has to be everything else. That's my little soapbox there.
It's such a time capsule show, though. Like, if you go back and watch it, like, that is how it was back in the early 2000s.
I mean, I love the AJR song about it. I really love that song. And the other thing I really don't like is because whenever I was dating and going through the dating apps, it's like, I want the Jim to my Pam. I want the Pam to my
I hate
Jim.
that
I want
shit.
So it's just...
Jim and Pam are problematic.
Yeah.
Are
for
they?
sure. Oh, yeah.
They were always they're
bullies. Like, Dwight, okay, this is not an Office podcast.
There is literally
But let
an
me
Office
just say
podcast.
that Dwight clearly has autism, and Jim and Pam like take advantage of that and like play pranks on him and stuff, and it's mean. They're bullies.
Yeah.
And we should not romanticize them. We should romanticize Bob Vance and Phyllis, and that is it.
But at the same time, I find his pranks very funny because, like, I want that relationship and friendship with people because I would like to be able to prank Tim and him not, like, be upset at me.
I feel like you are pranking Tim by talking about The Office.
That's true.
Oh, no.
That's
Okay.
true. That's true.
Rewind.
I'm just kidding. We're good. We're good. I want there to be tangents like this. It's absolutely fine.
But that comes back down to the line of the squiggly vision being something that was so popular at a point, and then it came into this, and people didn't like it.
Yeah.
And then there's evolution to that.
Yeah.
Did the Rugrats have squiggly vision? No.
Klasky Supos is just ugly.
Oh.
I think it's funny, but I do like The Office. I rewatch it a lot, but much like home movies, season 1 of The Office is the season I rarely.
Agreed.
That's how I feel about Taskmaster. Yeah. Not to get on a tangent, but continue.
All right, Office and Taskmaster podcast coming soon. Okay, so let's jump into it. The opening credits, we have the Home Movies theme song and the character Brendan Small running through multiple scenes before stopping in front of his mom as she hands him the video camera. This is used as like a kind of an faux intro for a couple episodes, but the classic Home Movies intro is the flickering TV screen, and then it goes into the classic piano music. So this was just used as a fill-in intro for a couple episodes and then replaced with the traditional flickering TV. The first shot opens it's a very far away shot of Brendan running around soccer practice. It's like he's a dot. I think this really speaks to kind of the animation style being very low budget. I find it very charming. I like that style, especially for like establishing shots and the far, like, I think that's absolutely fine.
I mean, it had charm there. I think anytime Josie was on screen, I had an issue.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just
remind me who... Oh, the baby.
The baby.
It was just so distracting because... and they're having a conversation like, that baby's fucking going crazy, man.
We open with Brendan running around, out of breath, being called in by Coach McGurk. Coach questions what Brendan is doing and if he's even playing soccer. Brendan claims he was running at the goal, and Coach informs him that you don't get points for running at the goal, you get points for hitting the ball through the goal. He then proceeds to show Brendan a regrettable cow tattoo from that cheese he likes. Brendan tries to get back in the game, and Coach then removes his shirt and shows him the Chiquita banana tattoo, all of which he said he got one night while being drunk. And the moral of that story is, don't live like me.
Wait, we didn't see him. Did we see him take off the shirt? Because I'm pretty sure it cut and then
He just had the shirt
He just
off.
had a shirt,
Yeah.
which was so jarring to me.
Yeah. Oh.
So the cow, is that the Baby Bell cow?
I
It's supposed to be
believe
Baby
so.
Bell?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And at first I'm like, oh, they're not calling out the names. Because he's
Yeah.
like, from that cheese I like. But then he straight up says, like, this is the Chiquita banana.
Yeah.
Which is just wild. And the fact that, again, he said it was one drunk night. So it's like that dude went in, sat through a chest tattoo, and was like, I'm not done. that cow that I like.
I mean, I've had those nights where I'm like, oh, I'll take another tattoo. Why not? You're open.
I wish I could afford to do that.
I couldn't. I just did it.
The next scene, Brendan's mother, Paula, voiced by Paula Poundstone, and the baby sister, Josie, who is voiced by Lauren Bouchard. She's talking to Josie while cooking. They do that traditional, I think, kind of cartoon thing where the baby speaks absolute gibberish and the mom understands 100%.
It's like when you're trying to speak duck and you're trying to get the words out.
Exactly, yes. Brendan comes in and very nervously informs his mom that his trailer for his new movie is complete. he then shows her the trailer for Dark Side of the Law.
Can I just say I felt that so much when he's, hey, mom, hey, could you come?
Could you,
I got this new thing. Could you like show a little bit of support?
Jack still does that to my parents to this day. He'll like upload stuff on YouTube and be like, "Can you come watch this real quick?"
Send me your brother's YouTube.
I will.
And also, what is your parents' reaction when Jack?
You don't want to know.
Oh no.
You don't want to know.
Is it?
I have to get after them. Like, you guys need to be swelling with pride right now because your son made this. Like, I should not be telling you this.
Can you come talk to everyone in my life?
We're going to have an intervention. I'll run it. It's fine.
That's kind of. I had this conversation with Teresa about when you guys Twitch stream. She's like, "Oh yeah, I pop in there for the view," and I'm like, that's like not doing anything, right?
I'm there for 2 seconds. That helps,
to
right?
give you the view. It's like, no, you just saw, you got their hopes up, and then the number disappeared.
Shout out Teresa. We love Teresa.
We do love Teresa.
Oh.
Here, I get to, in honor of Teresa.
Cheers. Do you guys want to watch the trailer for Dark Side of the Law?
Mm-hmm.
Dark Side of the Law.
Dark Side of the Law.
In a world, turns out your old partner is gone dirty, gone mad. He's gone dirty? He's a dirty cop. There stands one. People don't understand me. I wanted to make a difference. Cop. Jason, we went to the academy together. Fighting. You were a good cop. Don't try to sweet talk me against evil. I set up the bomb then with
Red wire.
3,000 wires. And
Green wire.
There's
if you
4
cut the
wires.
wrong wire, the bomb
Yellow wire.
explodes. Injustice.
Pink, Melissa. Blue or red? All right, here we go. Clip.
Dark Side of the Law.
Dark Side of the Law.
I
Wholesome.
love it.
Yeah.
It's the very crappy editing.
Mhm.
The he's obvious. Dun, 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 dun.
The
The
amount of,
cutting, it cuts to like Melissa for like 1 frame randomly for absolutely
Yeah.
no reason.
because he probably messed up in editing and didn't want to go back. I've had those moments where I'm like, no, you know what? I've sat here looking at this scene long enough. That mistake is now part of it. It feels right. Something I was going to say is when he's got glasses and he's himself looking at
Right.
another character who's like off screen and it's just cutting back and forth. That is literally the quintessential home movie maker type
yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I laughed, especially because I had a character on my YouTube channel that I'd have to do that shit where I'm like, all right, did the scene, time to take out the outfit and sit over here. And if I walked up and I bumped the camera, I'm like, no, no, I can't do this
Start
split
crying.
screen.
She's like, find the most different object I can wear so they know it's not me.
But also the amount of times I've had to send to composers like I want it to sound like this, and they're like, well, what? I'm like, like I'd have to whisper that and like send them a voice memo of me doing the thing.
Mm.
It sounds rough, but it works. Do you
So
relate to Melissa a lot?
Like, as far as like being in the home movies,
Yeah,
for
just
sure, for sure.
Get in here.
Yeah, there's when you guys were talking about how like leaving in the edits of this, there's a home movie that Jack and I did. I'm going to be referencing my brother a lot, unfortunately.
Well, that's the lens you're looking at. Through.
Yeah, it really is.
yeah.
And there's this one part where he like moves the camera down, but he doesn't turn it off, and you just hear him go, "No, Adele." And it's just me and my little 6-year-old self be like, "What I do?"
I thought I did the line right.
Not hit your mark. I told you.
No,
3 steps
Adele.
in and then
More
you say-
emotion. You're 6. You know how to be happy.
No, I don't.
Retweet. Sorry, X tweet. No, whatever.
no,
God.
nope. I,
We don't subscribe to that.
I find it very wholesome after Brendan shows the trailer to his mom. She's like, is it too soon to start writing the speech?
Yeah.
Make sure you thank me.
That
He's
one.
got a supportive mom. We love to see it.
Yeah.
I was on tenterhook seeing how his mom was going to react. I was like, this is going to be a rough ride if she goes the other direction.
So again, because of the retro scripting, we do have a lot of these like weird two lines of dialogue go to the next scene. That happens with Brendan and his mom a lot because of the retro scripting. The first few episodes are a little jarring, but they they figure it out. So we cut to a conversation between Brendan and his mom. She informs him that she's going to go out on a date. Already very uncomfortable with the situation, Brendan becomes a series of over-exaggerated and comedically animated poses when she drops the bomb that she's going on a date with Coach McGurk. The different poses and faces Brendan makes when he finds that out, it gets me every time. I just think that ridiculous animation style, I don't know. I like it.
Which part again? Say that.
So this is when he's talking to his mom. She said she's going on a date, and then she's like, "Oh, and by the way, it's with your coach." He turns into like 5 different
the facial journey he went on. Yeah,
his body like almost contorts.
Okay, yeah, that was. I did, but that's the thing. I couldn't gauge what he was upset about. That his mom was dating, or that it was his.
I think he was a little
bit
upset
of
with that
both.
part, but when he found out it was McGurk, it was like almost and a low blow.
I thought dating was something you just didn't do.
McGurk the jerk.
Right. And she does reference, that she's, been under the thumb or kind of held down by Brendan's dad, and she needs to get out there again.
Mhm.
So she does kind of openly talk about, her divorce. So the next scene, Brendan is sitting, he's sitting in a sandbox breaking the news to Melissa, in which that's when he refers to Coach McGurk as McGurk the jerk. And Melissa's dad shows up, questions whether Brendan is too old to be sitting in the sandbox. He pulls out the mouse. He's like, "Oh, look what I found." And
You should rebury that.
Yeah.
yeah, that line was that's one I didn't catch right out because it's like pretty much implying like, we know you buried that. Come on. Brendan tells Eric he's upset about his mom going on a date with a coach. Eric encourages him to focus on other things, such as his movies. He then mentions that he's a fan of his early work, to which Brendan asks what his favorite one was.
I feel that so much. I can't express how much I am that character when that happens.
Eric tells him not to put him on the spot. He then informs Brendan that him and Melissa will be performing at a recital coming up in the next few weeks. He produces a violin and plays it not super great, which very much embarrasses Melissa, but has like weirdly cheers up Brendan. Like he's like, this cheers me up for some reason.
I'm not sure if we passed this line, but I did quote it. It was just when Brendan was talking to Melissa, and he's like, "Let me tell you about women." That line,
Yeah.
That's right before her dad walks out.
You'll
that
love
line,
to hear it.
that
You'll love
line
to hear it.
fucking killed me. That was I actually started putting smiley faces next to the time I laughed out loud, and that was the first one.
Nice.
Let me tell you about women.
Yeah, that's a good line too. Next, we find Paula doing dishes, talking on the phone about her date. Saying she's going to go in with a chip on her shoulder, wearing baggy pants and a shirt that would make a man want to buy her another shirt.
Wrote that down too.
What was the line where she's like, "How dare he ask me?"
I
on this
wrote
date?"
that.
Yeah.
How dare you ask me out of this date?
Yeah, that's her mentality of like, oh, how dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah. She said if she went into the date any other way, it would basically be false advertisement. Yeah, she's just at that level of not giving a fuck. Yet another scene where she's on the phone. So, she's basically retroscripting majority of her lines and someone's going, "Meow, meow, meow."
Is it? Did we know her age at this point?
I don't think so. We might find out later, but I'm not sure.
Okay, because I'm trying to gauge what point like they think a woman should give up on everything.
Well, it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
The following scene, we find Coach showing up to the small residence for his date. Brennan answers and immediately starts messing with the coach, questions his attire, alludes to him smelling like alcohol, points out his sweat stains. Brennan proceeds to introduce the coach to his baby sister, Josie, and comments how he's a lucky man because his date comes with an instant family, dropping my personal favorite line, "Oh, whose kid is that? I don't know. Yours now." Brennan leans into it, asks the coach to hold him, calls him dad, says he loves him. And then that's when Coach gets in Brendan's face saying he's going to come down on him so hard at practice Monday. And that's when Paula walks in, basically seeing the coach essentially threatening her son.
And she's just tapping her foot.
Yeah. Classic.
Hey, what are you guys doing over there?
Next scene, we find ourselves in the restaurant with Coach and Paula. Coach is not only dominating the conversation, but also overall food consumption. I don't know if you noticed, I don't know what he was eating, maybe meatballs, but he had like large portions of big brown food. She had like one shrimp on her plate that she never once ate. The coach brings up how he's also from a family that split up and it caused him to drop out of school and pretty much assumes that Brendan will do the same. Paula is very uninterested in the majority of the aspects of this date. Next, we cut to Brendan, Jason, Melissa as they're setting up shots to record a scene. They are setting the scene in France because that's where dramatic things take place. While filming the scene, it comes to an abrupt halt when a DJ's favorite scene of Jason with an obscene amount of snot coming out of his nose. He then shows him a cool trick where he can make it go down to the ground and suck it back up while screaming, "People hate me."
I wrote down, I quoted that, and then I put right next to it, yes. that's how I can't stand watching that. But I do want to, like, there's another line right before that when Melissa and Brendan are acting towards each other where she's like, "I'm a bad person." He's like, "I agree, you're a bad person."
Oh my gosh. Now that you point that out too, there's something similar to that in the next episode that I feel is a running theme of like, no, you know, and someone's like, "Oh, I did this. And the person's like, "Yeah, no, you do suck." Like, so we cut back to Paula and Coach on the date. Coach is complaining that the kids never want to do anything and he has to twist them. And he's saying this while violently twisting a pepper shaker. Paula and her body language is so uninterested. She starts playing with her food and then orders another drink, saying she shouldn't mix it with her medication. But you know what? This time she's willing to make an exception.
And fade to black.
Yeah, that's another, I think that was a very classic Paula Poundstone line.
Was that with the bumpers? Do you know the animated bumpers where they're going? Was that the second bumper that came through?
I believe so, yeah.
I wrote down when I saw Melissa with roller skates, I was like, roller skates and gimbal. Good idea.
Actually, no, that might have been the first one because I remember where the second one was.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the first. But yeah, those bumpers would play when it aired on UPN, but especially Adult Swim because they did a lot of the the little commercial bumpers. Yeah, I like those. So we now find ourselves in the middle of soccer practice. Coach McGurk is huddling up the kids to speak some words of encouragement, saying he watched professional soccer on TV, and boy, is there a huge gap between what he saw there and what he sees now. And it's one of those things where like Brendan starts talking to Melissa, and the coach is still talking in the background. And he's like, "Yeah, they were in their 20s, but that's no excuse." Like, pretty much reprimanding the kids for being 8 years old.
The quote I put is, "First off, you're all 8."
Yeah.
So yeah, Brendan starts talking to Melissa, even though she tells him not to. Coach, points it out, and they both get in trouble. While being reprimanded, Brendan immediately starts to talk back and give the coach attitude. And when the coach tells him again to keep it down, Brendan goes off. He goes announce to the rest of the team that they should watch out for Coach. He's going to come after them. He's grabbing one kid by the
I
collar.
love that.
It happened to me.
He's going to come after your moms. I love that.
That scene, it fades up where Brendan's laying on the ground, throwing a tantrum.
Mm-hmm.
So according to the DVD commentary, that first, I think it was 8 minutes or so, that was everything that they had done on spec to sell the show to UPN. So everything up until that point, they had done themselves on spec. And then the remainder of the episode is them being like, okay, shit, how do we finish this episode?
Well, that's actually really... Why did they love the first half, but they hated the rest of it?
I feel like they probably did care for it when they watched it, but then when they watched it and then saw the ratings, especially minute by minute, I remember there was an interview with Lauren Bouchard where he's like, yeah, they could literally pinpoint when people were reaching for their remotes to change the channel.
It was when Jason was on screen.
Well, and but honestly, I think, yeah, the first impression of the animation probably turned a lot of people off.
That's fair, because the first note I put in here was ugly! ! If I lived in this universe, I would be in hell. I wrote that down.
But you wouldn't know any different.
It's true.
I mean, I'm in this universe, and this is hell. So,
amen.
Yeah.
The only good part about it is you get to do podcasts.
Very true. Next, we find Brendan, Melissa, and Eric all riding in a car together. Brendan asks Eric if he could beat up Coach McGurk. Eric protests and points out the coach is bigger, to which Brendan responds, "Then we'll get you a gun."
Wait, what did Eric say? He said, he's like, I'm wily, or he's like,
I'm wiry.
I'm wiry. Yeah, I'm wiry. It's like, I'll do it right now.
Yeah. And Brendan's like, "Do you have a gun? We'll get you a gun."
We'll get you a gun.
Spoken like a true American.
Yeah. To change the subject, Eric recommends they play the duck game, where Eric says something in a wacky Donald Duck-like voice called Duck Talk, and they have to guess what he's saying.
Was it ever revealed what he was saying?
I have no idea.
I don't think it was.
Yeah, I don't even think with closed captions it explains.
I mean, real quick, can you guys do a duck talk?
I can't.
No.
I cannot. Can you? All right.
Yeah.
Brag. We
That's-
gotta brag.
But I can't like speak. I can't be like.
Because honestly, it did sound like he was saying ragu.
Yeah, it did.
I heard ragu,
Yeah.
and then she was like, "Don't say a slur, Dad." I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it sounded like. Because of the premise of the episode, I don't know how you guys feel, but I don't think I would have ever cared if my mom started dating another person. Like, I'd never thought that was an issue.
Another person, yeah, a soccer coach, that would kind of.
Do you not like soccer coaches?
No, I
Don't like Ted
think. Well, I
Lasso.
think that's obviously like a huge, like overstepping a boundary for the soccer coach.
Plus, I feel like that's like something kids could totally make fun of you for. Like, oh, your
Right.
mom's getting boned by the coach.
Coach.
I guess the only thing that I'm surprised about, and obviously they did it for the story, but I feel like in reality, the mom would have, gone on a date or two without saying anything to the kid. And then if it got serious, they'd mention it. It was obviously like a story thing. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it might sit kind of not right with me if my mom started dating. Well, my baseball coach was my dad, so it makes sense. My mom did date my baseball coach.
Oh,
so.
that's funny.
I mean, I feel like if the guy that my mom was going to go on a date with showed me his bare chest and the Chiquita banana tip, I think I'd probably have an issue too. Maybe just a warning. Like, I don't think this is the guy you think he is. This guy loves bananas. Like, you have no idea.
So they're playing the duck game after numerous fails attempt and Eric getting spit all over his lap. Brendan and Melissa tell Eric to watch the road, and he swerves and a car passes, and then Eric said, "Did that person just flip me off?" I swear to you, if you slow down the video and go frame by frame, not only it's a driver and a kid in the back seat, and not only is the driver flipping him off, the kid in the back seat is also giving him the finger.
The thing I've noticed about the show is that all of the character designs are pretty good, to be honest.
So they are basically like everyone wears a onesie. Their feet and fingers are basically covered. So Brendan's wearing like a blue outfit. Next, we find Paula on the phone, changing Josie, giving her take on babysitters. She mentioned she doesn't like a good babysitter because it makes the parent look bad if the kid likes the babysitter more. She then asks if there's babysit etiquette, like after a date, asking if the babysitter should call the next day and say they had a great time. She then confesses that she did not, in fact, have a good time with her date with the coach, and we see Brendan eavesdropping. She's like, yeah, the restaurant called me back after that date. Apparently, I forgot my hat. So now we cut to the trailer for Dark Side of the Law 2, guys.
That's the quote I kept on. I love that line at the end of it.
I'm going to play the trailer for Dark Side.
Okay.
Let's go. Good
Side of
stuff.
the Law was the last of the films with that title. You were wrong. Coming to theaters, Dark Side of the Law 2. First of all, welcome back to the Force. Feels good to wear the blue again. Guess what?
What?
Now Officer Brendan's gone bad. He thought he was above the law. He was wrong. And demand number 2. Number 3. Pizza! Academy Award nominee Brendan Small gives his most paralyzing
He's getting a bowling
performance. I'm sorry! Woody Harrelson is electrifying.
Woody Harrelson is electrifying. It's so funny.
I can't eat a lot of cheese because it's binding. And then I don't go, and then she has to put her finger. Help it go.
Do you want to describe what we're seeing here, DJ?
This film is not yet rated. Blah, 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 blah.
I hate him. Like, I just, it's so disgusting, and it's like it's not even just like, here's a disgusting thing. He's describing it to you slowly, so it stays in your brain while it's happening, and he's showing you his finger, and I was so upset when you guys, because we did the cover art, when you guys decided to choose which ones you guys were. I was like, I don't want to be Jason.
You're not, though. You're not. You're just, your spot is where he is. Doesn't mean you are him.
That I did not want to trace him because he's sitting there picking his fucking nose.
Well, no, you don't have to trace him. You can trace any.
We'll find it.
Yeah.
No, don't. Well, no, don't worry. I had Nick do it for me. I got it.
That looks so good.
I wanted to show it to you on the podcast so you can.
Oh, dude, that's perfect.
That's perfect.
That is literally perfect.
The logo's gonna look so dope. I'm excited.
I love it.
It makes me happy. But that's the thing is, like, I really don't like him. I really don't like him. And I'm hoping that at the end, like by the end of episode 52, I don't know how this show is gonna go, but like at episode 52, like Jason is accepting his Oscar and I'm crying in the seat. Like that'll be a fun day for me.
I feel like I've always liked Jason. So I can't relate. I know he's being gross, especially in the first episode, but I've always liked Jason. So
The finger.
That's why I am calling it now that DJ is slowly going to fall in love with him.
I hope so.
I really like Brendan. I think Melissa's going to be the straight man of the show that I'm just going to be like, that's the one that I need to hang my hat on of like, she's good. She's going to bring me back to reality. Thank you.
So after that, we go into Coach McGurk's office, which personally is wild that they give a soccer coach that teaches literally nothing else.
Just soccer.
His own office. Also, it's very apparent that he lives there.
That's my favorite bit. He's like, there's a sleeping bag here. Yeah, I do a lot of camping.
Yeah, he calls it camping.
Sometimes. I do a lot of camping here.
So Brendan apologizes for the way he acted at practice, and Coach apologizes as well, saying it was inappropriate for him to date any player's mom, obviously, except Rebecca's mom, who he did say he was not going to call. But then immediately corrects himself and says, well, he did call, but he will not follow up.
I feel like I've known somebody like this before in my day. Yeah.
Like as a friend or someone like dating
As a friend.
wise?
As a friend, yeah.
Because I
won't say any names. It's not you or anybody.
Okay, that whenever someone says that, I'm like, what the fuck did I do?
No, it's not you. It's not you.
Because the only thing is that none of us here are in the dating game anymore. So
correct. Thank
and
God.
I tried to stay away. I don't know. I can't stand even the idea of going on a date with somebody because I know I'll have a good time, but just don't do anything bad. Don't do anything bad. Don't do anything bad. And then the whole time the coach is just being the worst.
Oh, the date scenes are so relatable though, of just like being on those like terrible dates that you just wish were over and you just gotta muscle through them.
I don't want
guy nonstop talking about himself and what he does and everything.
And I've been there. That was me for a long time, and it's mostly because I just are you gonna say anything? Like, I can't stand silence, so I would just go and go and go and go.
All right. So, yeah, he says he's not going to follow up with Rebecca's mom. And then he says he's going to swear off women altogether. He gives Brendan some very sage advice, which is women are like men.
Yeah.
But men are not like women.
I really want to know what that means.
Who knows?
You know, I feel that.
Wait, what?
No,
Just because, like, this weird idea of just... don't you know all women are crazy, like men from Venus, women for this weird idea, like women are like men, like, so that's right, we're humans, right? But men are not like women because we can't be like women. Does that make sense, or am I just saying things?
No, I don't understand.
I'm still lost.
The logic
I'm not
of
old enough yet to
men
understand.
are like saying women are like men, but men are not like women. No, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't get it.
I you know, I'm gonna write an essay about the third episode.
Right.
I'll bring
on the Instagram page.
On the Instagram page.
I'm looking forward to it. Coach then admits, after some personal reflection, that he wrote a poem about the situation, but is unwilling to share it because it has a lot of swear words and is actually more like a limerick. And then doesn't even say, okay, well, I'll get it started. All right. Next scene, we have Brendan answering the phone, and it's Coach McGurk looking to speak to Paula. Paula gets on the phone as well. And after some small talk, Coach says that he's doing great. And when Paula says, you don't sound great, Coach openly admits that he has been crying.
Relatable.
I've been crying.
At which point, Brendan asks if she should have hung up the phone by now. Coach tells Paula that the date went really well. He thought it was very funny when his credit card got declined, even though she did not find it as funny, and says that he owes her one. She kindly declines and says, you don't owe me anything, and we don't have to make plans, but let's just randomly bump into each other. I don't know if you guys caught this, but as he's talking, there's a quick zoomed out shot of him, and he's doodling a picture of Paula with hearts around it.
No, I didn't catch that.
I didn't do that either.
As he's talking to her. They plan to randomly bump into each other on Monday when Paula picks up Brendan from soccer practice, but then Coach almost immediately is like, well, yeah, but I know a guy and he can get us a deal on a 4-day cruise. And then also mentioned a horse ranch in Nevada. Brendan sneaks into the room, at which point Paula gives him the phone, and Brendan starts talking to Coach, to which Coach replies, put your mom back on the phone. And he says, well, she's motioning like she's taking a bath.
She's motioning, she's taking a bath.
I liked it when he was like, we're going to a ranch?
Yeah, he was very excited.
Why did Brendan tell him to call his mom? Was his mom even up? I thought Brendan walked and was like, "You need to call my mom. Like, you need to give her a call."
I don't think he told her to. No.
No. Brendan said to the coach, "You need to call my mom."
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, that was like during the whole like. That's why I thought that's why he was in the.
Yeah, that he went into the office.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought he just went in to apologize for his
Play it back.
like
Playback.
If you really want me to.
No, I mean,
You don't have to, because I just remember specifically like, you need to call my mom, while he's like, "Don't worry, kid. I'm done with women," and he's like, "But you just give my." But I don't know.
You know, yeah, maybe he says like just call her or something
Yeah.
like that. Okay, this is Brendan getting into the coach's office / area he camps in.
I was just trying out a new hair gel. And I didn't expect. Did I call you down here, Brendan?
No, I found out where your office was, so I decided to come down and talk to you.
Yeah, they hid me way down here.
It's a nice place.
Well, I just started redecorating it.
Is that a sleeping bag?
Yeah, I do some camping sometimes, and occasionally I'll camp right here.
A lot of mirrors in this place.
Well, it's feng shui.
Thanks.
Right. The reason I came here, Mr.
Listen, before you say anything, I honestly want to clear the air about your mom.
No, you don't have to.
Well, I know we had a little difficult time in practice, and I certainly don't want that to happen again, Brendan.
You know what? Let me apologize to you, because
No, you know what? Let me
I
apologize.
was acting like a grade A jerk.
Wait a
out
minute,
there,
Brendan,
and I don't-
before you go
no,
on, shut up,
no,
Brendan,
but
for one
that's-
second, all right? Let me apologize to you. I want you to know that everything is fine. We can continue to have a good relationship on the soccer field.
Right.
I want to make sure that we have a great season this year, and even though that's not going to happen, because no one can play soccer on our team. And I realize it's a conflict of interest for me. I shouldn't be dating any of the players' moms. Except Rebecca's mom.
I haven't.
She came to practice last night, but I'm not going to call her. I thought about it, but then I knew what happened with your mom was wrong, and I said, you know what? Well, I did call her, but I'm not going to follow up on it because that would be wrong. I swear to God, I think I'm off women altogether.
No.
Brendan, let me
I know
tell you a little bit something about women.
What's that?
Women are they're like men. But I'll tell you something, men are not like women.
Right.
When you grow up, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Will you give her a call?
You know what? I honestly don't think that
There
after
it
this
is.
whole situation with your mom, I did some reflecting.
Yeah.
And
was
I wrote
quick.
a poem. And I'm not going to read you that poem
No.
because
Thanks.
it's a little personal.
Oh.
And it has some dirty language in it. It's more like a limerick. But I wish I could read it to you because it makes me laugh every time I read it. I think it's a very good limerick.
I'd love to hear it.
Well, I'll start it off for you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the
Nice.
part I remember. He's like, I'll start it off for you. But no, you're right. He does say, Brendan says, call her.
it was very quick.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
why does he want him to call?
That's
I-
a good question.
I think it was because he overheard the phone call with his mom and he felt bad that he didn't call her back. Maybe it was like
yeah.
a.
It could be.
I think I think that's fair. I just didn't understand it because immediately she got the call from him and was like, "Fuck you! I don't want to
Yeah.
talk to you."
Yeah, maybe he misread it. Like,
Yeah.
That's right. He's 8. I keep forgetting that.
that's
He's
right.
just a
He's
baby.
a child. Final scene. We're at Brendan and Melissa's soccer game. Coach McGurk is yelling at Jeremy not to use his hands. As we cut to Jeremy dribbling a soccer ball like a basketball. The fact that they play soccer, I think that's a funny bit when somebody's like dribbling the ball. Or I think next episode they do a random kid just gets hit in the side of the head with a soccer ball. Like, I don't know.
My favorite part was like, "Don't use these," and it's clearly just an excuse to use the animation.
Brendan gets thrown into the game and gets absolutely creamed, causing the coach to yell at the ref. So we cut to Paula and Eric in the stands. Eric, Melissa's dad, Paula, Brendan's mom. Eric is being incredibly awkward. I think at one point he asks if he can sit in Paula's lap.
Yeah.
That I thought I dreamed that for a second. I was like, because she just glazed right over that. That did not come back up.
Eric brings up Paula's date with the coach and how it affected Brendan. The coach sees them interacting and tells the parents to get their head in the game. And then he's like, speaking of which, ref, get your head in the game.
What's a 21-year-old doing on the field?
Yeah, the guy that creames Brendan's like almost an adult.
Bro, dude, not quick side tangent, but like growing up in wrestling, and I was in a lot of sports, baseball, like soccer, football, all of those. The amount of fights I saw from parents coming at the refs.
Yes,
like,
always.
There was one time where there's a wrestling match happening, and one of the parents of one of the wrestlers came over and was like yelling at the ref, like, "You need to give that guy a point," whatever. And the ref comes up, he's like, gives him a point. Then the other parent of the other wrestler comes down and is yelling at the ref, and the ref's like, "Never mind, no points." And then those parents started fighting each other in the middle of the. And there's this beautiful thing that happens when wrestling. When someone gets points on the mat, the entire crowd will erupt if they're into the mat. They'll go, 2! These parents started fighting each other on the mat, and the entire crowd was into it.
Nice.
They were just like, get him! And they brought him down, and the whole crowd went, 2!
Nice. I don't know if Amy remembers this because she was a little bit younger when my brother and I played baseball. Both my brothers and I played baseball. But there was an umpire who had a nickname. His nickname was Buckwheat because he threw out one of our coaches. It was a coach from my team. And the ump was like, "You're out of here." And the coach was like, "No, you're out of here, Buckwheat." And that's how he got the nickname.
Nice.
That stuck for years. But dude, the fights with parents, with other parents, with the ref, like, dude, we were children.
Exactly.
I stopped playing baseball at 14 years old.
Yeah.
For years. So that means I was Brendan Small's age when parents were getting in fights in stands.
They get into it for no reason.
It's wild.
So when he was screaming at the ref, I was like, yeah, I know where you are.
Yeah, exactly. Paula tells Eric, and in the funniest way ever, in this like, "Oh yeah, we met 2 years ago. There's something I've been meaning to tell you. You make me extremely uncomfortable." And I don't think we will ever hit it off. She was picking up the vibe that Eric was hitting on her, kind of getting a feel for like, oh, you date the coach, maybe.
I really wish women were that direct with me. Well, maybe not just women, men too. But I wish people were that direct with me. I got to be honest with you.
I had the balls to be that direct with people.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Brendan asked Melissa if her dad is sitting close to her mom. Melissa's like, I don't know what you're talking about. At that point, Eric busts out the violin and starts playing for Paula. I think Melissa is like, "Dad, I told you not to bring," and he's like, "Paula made me."
Such a good line. Yep.
That was one of my favorites. The immediate, like, no, Paula made me do this. At which point, Brendan requests Freebird and then yells out the titular, "Get away from my mom."
He said it. He said the title of the name.
Do they do the title? Do they say the title at every episode or
no?
Okay.
No, I can only think of like maybe one other episode where the title is like a main part of the
Okay.
episode. So that's it. That's season 1, episode 1
Dang.
of Home Movies.
I had a lot of fun with it. Mostly it was just trying to figure out parts of the animation I liked. And I remember I put the best animation in the show is the flag outside of the school. That's the best animation. That's just
You wrote that. It's coincidence that is what it's on the screen right now.
I mean, yeah, it was just a coincidence. I literally wrote that earlier in the episode. I put it right here. The flag is the best animation.
Wow.
And then
I really liked the running animation in the beginning.
Yes.
when you're pulling out and you see all the cars there too, like that there's some charm to that too.
Yeah.
I really liked that. Also, earlier when they were on the phone with the mom and was trying to get away from Coach McGurk. She was I swear to God, that was the Pan flag. She was just like rolling up the blanket. I was like, is that the Pan flag?
Oh, it might have been.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I didn't
I was
catch that either.
staring at it. I was like, I think those are the right colors.
Paula's Pan.
It might be. I'm pretty sure IRL
yellow
Paula
and blue.
Poundstone is in the LGBT community. I believe she was out too, like back then.
Ooh,
So
2001?
Was there a
This would have
Pan
been
flag
99. This would
in
have been
99?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Tumblr existed in 2014, and that's how I found out about it. But even then, like, what type of blanket is that? Those are some primary colors on that blanket.
Maybe that's what started it. Maybe whoever created the Pan flag was a huge home movies fan.
Oh, yeah. That checks out.
Is this what is that the conspiracy theory, like everything we're going to try to tie back to home movies?
That's funny. I actually, I guess you would call it headcanon, but there's this, we won't even get to it till probably season 3 or 4. But it's just two characters that are very friendly. And then, I don't know, just some stuff happens. I'm like, you know what? This is my headcanon. And I don't give a shit what anyone says.
No, I love that. That's why I whenever we get to that, you got to remember that.
Oh, no, I will point it out.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
It's something I always think about. So that's pretty much it. Any
Nice.
final thoughts? Do we want to give it, let's give it a grade. There's a school on the screen right now. So classic A through F grade. What would you give season 1, episode 1? Get Away from My Mom.
Well, I'm going to give it a B+, just because
Nice.
I have hopes that, things are going to pick up, and I don't want to give it a higher score knowing that there are going to be better episodes in the future. Are we going to grade each episode by the end?
I think we should.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be a good way to do it, especially the way that you're doing it as a school. Great.
Yeah.
I just always get confused. I don't know why we skipped E when we were doing the grades. I've been mad about this since elementary school, but
Damn.
whatever.
Are you about to give this episode an E?
No.
E minus even?
I think we should put E on the grading
Go for it,
scale
yeah.
for this, but I'm not, only because if Jason had a more titular role on this episode, I would have hated it a lot more. But Jason he had like 2 bad jokes. Well, they were good jokes, but I hated them. And so it was fine. The rest of the episode, I quoted a lot more than I thought I was going to. I laughed a lot more than I thought I was going to. I'm not one for dry humor because I watched Archer for a while. And
I couldn't get into Archer.
I couldn't either, but there were some good lines in there. And that's H. John Benjamin.
Yeah.
And I never watched Bob's Burgers, even though Ryan and Teresa.
You've never seen Bob's Burgers? Oh my gosh,
They-
that's so surprising.
I think I watched the first season, actually. I watched the first season.
That's like one of the least.
Yeah.
That's not a good season.
I think they're currently on season 14. So
Yeah.
if we did a Bob's Burgers rewatch, we would have content for the next 100 years.
Right. The newer seasons of Bob's Burgers get like pretty good.
I wanted to watch it for the movie because the movie had some wonderful animation in it. And that's the only reason.
And it was a musical.
It was?
Yeah.
Fuck, I love musicals.
And
Yeah.
Bob's Burgers is Lauren Bouchard, who is half of Home Movies.
Really? Oh, yeah, that's right. There is a connection there, obviously.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the adult animation, Adult Swim, you could argue came from this start of people, like this group of people. They went everywhere.
Yeah.
Just like you can argue that Flapjack, the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack, all of the people that were on that show, when it got canceled, went to Steven Universe, Adventure Time, regular show, like all of these like created the entire next generation of animation. So I can see where this is coming from.
Yeah. So this is kind of a jumping off point too for Lauren Bouchard and Brendan Small.
I don't want to grade it too low because it did make me laugh and it went above and beyond. But I like you said, Adele, I don't want to give it a better grade, even though there's better. So I'm just going to give it a B. No, B minus.
That's good. That's still good.
Yeah.
It's still good. I'm not going to give it a C because it's like, what am I going to grade it on? The shitty animation?
Yeah.
Of course it has shitty animation.
I feel like B is like a good middle ground starting point.
Yeah, no, for sure. Personally, I'm going to give it just a flat A because it is the first. It is the pilot, is the, when you get the DVDs and you go through in order, this is the first one. I think it has a lot of charm. I feel like you really can feel the retro scripting, especially with Paula. In the UPN 5, as they call it, there are literally scenes with Paula where it's 2 lines, fade to black, and then another scene with Paula, because that's how kind of disjointed it would get sometimes with their retro scripting. But this is the beginning. Home Movies has a soft spot in my heart. I'm going to give it an A just because it's the first.
Well, that's an interesting question because this guy, he loves this show.
He does.
He says every episode is his favorite episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how many times are you going to give an episode an A?
Yeah.
And are there going to be any episodes that you're like, I don't know, guys.
Yeah.
This one's
One's an A minus.
In season 3, I'm going to give one episode a B, and you guys are going to fall out of your chairs.
I'm waiting for that. I would love to get an F out of you. I'd love to get that. I'd love to get through an episode and you finally go, sorry guys, this one was just
A stinker.
yeah.
The series finale. I just hated it. I'm just kidding.
It makes me sad.
I could never. So that's it.
Yeah.
That wraps the episode. I thought we would be able to knock it out an hour and 23 minutes later.
We went on a little bit of an
We went on-
ADHD tangent at one
Yeah.
point.
Oh yeah, we went on a bunch of different
Yeah.
places.
Episode 2 is going to be, there's not going to be as much up top, so
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot more streamlined. But this was a lot of fun. Did you guys have any thing you want to plug or where people?
I want to plug the Happy Corner.
I was going to do that too. This episode is technically sponsored by the Happy Corner podcast. They are letting us use our studio, their studio, which is super nice. So we're going to give them a plug, the Happy Corner podcast. You can find them on Twitch and YouTube, the Happy Corner podcast. They stream Sundays at 1:45 p.m. And then audio versions of the podcast can be found wherever you download your podcast. So please check that out.
Hell yeah.
That was a good plug.
Nice.
That was a good plug.
Now, do you want to do the same thing for your pluggables?
Yeah, but like it always feels nasal gazy when I start. Okay, so I did this show. It's called Puzzle Valley,
Hell yeah.
Electric Journeys.
Oh, yeah. No, plug that shit.
Okay, it's a D&D game turned audio drama, and if you're listening to Puzzle Valley, it's a TTRPG turned audio drama. It's a high school teen detective story. We're starting the 2nd season in March. So
I'm on it. I'm going to be on it.
Yeah. Adele is a big one that's on it. And then we also have Teresa and Ryan that we've talked about. There's so much that's going into that. I have so much stuff I'm so excited for that. And then also you guys, Tim and Adele, are helping me with Season of the Curse 2. We literally filmed last Saturday.
Yeah, week from today.
Yeah, it was a really good time. I'm not going to go too much into it, but like, damn, it's just like we were doing right here, where we expected to get done in this amount of time, and we went over. And there was so much we had to do, but it's all about just like going through it. But yeah, Season of the Curse 2 is coming. Puzzle Valley is my baby. Eldritch Journeys is my baby. There's so many projects that I'm doing constantly. You can find those things anywhere you find podcasts. I haven't put them on YouTube yet because that will take fucking forever. But yeah, I'm DJ, and for this episode, I like home movies.
Ooh.
Nice.
Oh, I'm Adele, and I also like home movies. I'm digging it.
My name is Tim, and I'm obsessed with home movies, and I'm obsessed with you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on this very first episode of Rewatching Home Movies. Join us next week for Season 1, Episode 2, I Don't Do Well at Parent-Teacher Conferences. If you enjoyed what you heard, check out our link tree at RHM Pod. From there, you can subscribe to the podcast, email us, or leave us a 5-star review. My name is Tim, and on behalf of my co-hosts, Marcin, aka DJ, and Adele, thank you for rewatching home movies with us. Bye.